So today we have a 2016 Lincoln MKX Reserve Edition. The Lincoln MKX Reserve Edition starts off at a base price of around just under $48,000. Now, with the options this one has, it tops out right about $52,000. This vehicle is equipped with a 2.7-liter V6 EcoBoost, which roughly gets 17 miles per gallon city and 26 miles per gallon highway. Now, upon first entering the Lincoln, the first thing that I've noticed is how sleek the interior really does blend together. And I think Ford did a really nice job in really just bringing out an interior that looks pleasant to the eye when you first look at it. Everything's smooth, everything fits right. Even the gear shift being molded into the dash really does clean up the area a little bit and gets rid of a lot of the clutter that other vehicles might have. Now, when I first got into this car, another thing that I noticed after sitting down in it, is how soft all of the materials are. I mean, the dash, the center console, everything is just very smooth as a touch. Even the wood grain inserts in the side of the door, you know, everything really does blend together very smoothly and gives you that at-home, comfortable feeling, especially if you're going to go on a long road trip. The car is very comfortable to sit in, especially the seats. The seats are made of a very soft leather. They do come both heated and cooled, and it is a really nice touch. You know, it just, everything feels comfortable. Now, one thing that I do have about this car after driving it for just under a week is how far forward the window switches are on the door panel. Now, it might not sound like that big of a deal, but I'm only 5'9", and I've got to reach a good amount forward to access the windows to raise them up or down. Now, that's just a small complaint, but you know, coming from other cars, it's uncomfortable to drive. Now, another thing that I've noticed too that's a lot that I just noticed there is pretty uncomfortable with this vehicle is the brakes. Now, your typical brake, you know, you can move over from the gas pedal to the brake and it should be flawless, should be comfortable, because if you're going to be braking, you know, you don't want to have an uncomfortable brake to where your foot can't reach it. Now, I noticed in this car is, I wouldn't even say under heavy braking conditions, but if you moderately apply the brakes, the top of your foot will actually hit the brake pedal bar, and it just kind of makes for a weird driving experience. Now, this car does drive extremely smooth. It drives honestly like a cloud. Now, power-wise, it's not too much to brag about. Like I said, it's a 2.7-liter V6. It's not giving out that much power, but it's enough to get you from point A to point B or past that guy. Moving over to Ford's Sync 3 radio, there's a lot of pros to it, and there are, unfortunately, a lot of cons to it, or more so bugs that Ford just needs to work out and could better implement in future models. Now, one thing that I noticed is, if I want to go to the radio, I can click on the audio switch, and from there, if I want to go to AM, FM, XM, or even my phone, I'm not able to choose it easily. I have to go into a separate menu and go to sources and then select where I'd like to pick that from. Even with the presets are all pre-formed to whatever source you're picking from. So if I'm on the FM channel, on an FM channel, I can't pick an XM channel from that list. And to me, it's just kind of a hassle, especially if you're driving, to have to go through a bunch of different little menus in order to just get to the channel that you're looking for. Now, another thing that I noticed that's kind of odd is there's a seek button, and then there's also a tune knob, which both do the exact same thing, and that's changing the radio station that you're on. And I don't know if they did that for ease of access. If you're on the road, you can just kind of feel for it and push the button. Or my guess is if you have a CD in or something, that maybe that's easier to change, but to me that doesn't make sense to have two buttons that do the exact same thing. Nowadays, with all the modern technology, you're either plugging your phone in or you're listening to the radio. So, you know, CDs are becoming obsolete music-wise in vehicles. So to me, it just doesn't make sense on why you'd have two buttons to do the exact same thing. So another thing that I noticed about the radio in this car that's kind of odd to me as well is it's the same radio used in all of Ford's lineup, the Sync 3, which I don't blame them, you know, use the same operating system. But you'd think that on a Lincoln they'd make it a little bit nicer, a little bit fancier, change some things around. But the only difference is the startup menu page, and they changed the background color from white, I believe it is in the other cars, to this tan-looking color. And that's the only real major difference. And aside from that, it's still just the same old radio. And I've got to say, I've driven and looked at previous sync systems that Ford has made, and this one, they have improved a lot. Now, I've driven previous MKXs, and it used to be everything was touch, and it was really awkward to change the station or turn up your air conditioning, for God's sakes. I mean, everything was touch, and it didn't work well, and it was weird. I don't like it. And they've really done a lot of improvement on this, and I've got to say, you know, I like that they brought all the buttons back. Everything's very easy to navigate. It's all in the right spot. It is a really well-defined car. Now, another thing that I really like about this car is the automatic headlights that turn as you turn. So, I know previous car manufacturers have had this option already implemented in the past, but from what I've seen, this is the first of Ford really pushing it in their vehicles. Now, what happens is, as you turn your steering wheel, the headlights will adjust to shine where your steering wheel is pointed. Now, the one thing that I did notice is that there's an extreme amount of lag, meaning that when you turn your wheels, it'll take half a second to a second to adjust, and then once your steering wheel is turned, your headlights are pointing one way. Once your steering wheel is straight, your headlights are still pointing the other direction. So if you were to be going down a dark, windy road at night, or a dirt road or whatever, where there's no street lights and you couldn't see what's ahead of you, your headlights are going to be pointing every which direction, and you know, it becomes kind of difficult to navigate. But I can see where Ford's going in the right direction with this. It could be a great amenity in these vehicles. They just need to refine it a little bit more, and they're getting there. They really are, but it just needs a little bit more refinement. Now, in my personal opinion, with what I've noticed about the brakes, with the pedals, and with the door, you know, with the window switches being so far forward, is I really do believe that these vehicles, the Lincoln MKX in particular, is made for a shorter crowd, or more maybe an elderly crowd, versus where, you know, this is my grandma's car, for instance, and I think it suits her perfectly. You know, I mean, she can be close up to the steering wheel, everything's right where she needs it, versus where me sitting back a little bit farther, it's harder to reach for everything. You know, the pedals don't suit me as well, and I think that the direction that Ford is trying to go with this is targeting a specific crowd, and that specific crowd are, you know, people that are older, or people that are just shorter in general. So moving on to the dash, the gauge cluster in particular, Ford did some really strange things to this car, especially for a car that costs $52,000. Now, what I'd expect, at least for a car made for an older crowd, is that you would be able to have nice options on it, such as your speed that you're going. You know, be able to blow up the speed on the dash so you wouldn't have to look down and look at the tiny numbers if you were hard of seeing, or just things like that. But what's interesting is there's not many options to pick from, and I don't know if that was just their way of saying, we don't want people browsing through options on the road as they're driving, or what. But I mean, if I go into the menus and look at navigation, for instance, all that it gives me is a picture of a compass, a very poorly drawn picture of a compass at that. I mean, it's not very good animation, it's not a very good picture, it's just a very small compass. So if you were actually trying to see which direction you were going, I mean, for an older person, it might be very challenging for them to make out what that says. Even in entertainment, I can pick from whichever source I want to choose from, which is nice, you know, so you don't have to go through all those sub-menus. But it doesn't give you much at that. It gives you the song, and it gives you the artist, and that's really about it. I mean, there's no images that show the album art, for instance, or you know, on Sirius XM they sometimes have the artwork for the specific station that you're on, or even just a picture of a speaker to know that you're in the sound menu. It's very, very bland, and there's not much to it. Now, that was on the right-hand side of the steering wheel. There's two menu options. On the left-hand side, it gives you your trip odometers, your fuel economy, driver assist, and settings. And you think that in settings, it would give you other options, you know, to pick from your speed, or pick from your instant fuel economy. But, you know, none of that's there, and it's kind of disappointing getting into a car like this and not having all of those nice features. I mean, from the previous videos that you guys have seen, I've got a 2016 Camaro that's actually in the shop right now. This is what I'm driving in place of it. But, I mean, that car's got way more features than this one, and it's a performance vehicle. You know, it's interesting how Ford implemented some of the features into this car, and the ones that they didn't implement as well. Now this car is equipped with sport mode, and putting it into sport mode, you've got these red lines that appear on the dash along with sport in the top right corner, which kind of gives it that sporty feel. But when you floor it, it does pull you back a little bit more than usual. And another thing that I like too is it holds your RPMs for instant power, as little as that may be. Man, this car really does drive smooth though. I mean, that's the one thing that I love about it, is how well it handles. It feels like you're driving on a cloud. It's amazing. It's for what this vehicle is, and for Lincoln, they did a great job on this. Handling wise, it's amazing. It's a really comfortable and nice car to drive. I mean, just to be in it, it feels comfortable. Everything's soft. The headrests are like little pillows. It's amazing. But from a driver's perspective, it is a really nice car. I think I could see anyone driving this. It's a matter of who Ford geared it to and what their intentions were. And to me, there's a few things that are odd about this car, but overall, I'd rate it as a pretty nice car. It's nice for what you get. They do give you a lot of nice features, but like I said, there are a few things that puzzle me when comparing it to other vehicles in the similar class. So anyways, guys, if you have any more questions or like this video, you can drop a like or comment below, and I'll try to answer your questions the best that I can while I still have this car before I get my Camaro back. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more car-filled content. Thanks.